Now, for you, Mr. Goldstein, question. How would a doctor, given some claims that there is not enough research on it, and speak to the question of it being taught in medical school, how would a doctor know how to use marijuana effectively, and how would the board of approval, in the New Jersey law, how would that fit in to a doctor's liberty to use it, the doctor's expertise? Are we now not just replacing the doctor with a medical board, an insurance board? How does that dynamic work? First, the knowledge of the doctor, and then the board.
Well, again, the science clearly contributes to the conditions that are outlined within the bill. The conditions that are included in the Compassionate Use Medical Marijuana Act aren't there for no reason. They're there because they're backed by the hardest scientific evidence out there. That's recognized by both physicians as well as legislators. In fact, the Assembly Health Committee that passed this bill forward in June is led by a physician, Dr. Herb Conaway, Assemblyman Conaway. How do physicians know what to do? Well, physicians are exploring new therapies all the time. A dentist may come up with a new method of gluing on braces, and they send memos out within their medical organizations, and along with the scientific research, along with information from the company that's offering the product. That's what happens today with medical marijuana. In the states that actually have authorized use, there's also a much more rigorous research happening on both the patient population and the marijuana itself. So in California, the University of California is studying this greatly right now, contributing to doctors' knowledge of this. Doctors don't have to consider marijuana in a vacuum. This isn't some new thing that we're inventing here in New Jersey. This is something that's been around for 13 years, that has thousands of patients involved with the program, and thus thousands of doctors as well. There are actually continuing medical education credits that you can get with groups like Patients Out of Time and Americans for Safe Access, specifically for doctors and nurses out there to use medical cannabis effectively within their communities. There is a knowledge base, there is a research base, there is a scientific base for doctors and physicians to draw on. That's how this bill got crafted, and that's how it will be utilized, hopefully, when it passes.
Thank you. Rebuttal, Mr. Farley.
It's almost hard to answer another nonsensical statement that there's no harm in this, especially to your immune system. One of the first reasons that marijuana was banned is because of the effect it has on your cellular immunity. I could go through tonight, as I said, 20, 30, 50 studies. Harvard saying it affects baby boomers and heart attacks. University of California, marijuana smoke was the common link among a number of other healthy young people who developed fast-growing cancerous tumors. Another study at UCLA indicates that smoking marijuana may increase the risk of head and neck cancers. And I can go down each one of them, and what Mr. Goldstein is telling you is that none of this exists. It's not true. Well, it's about time they came up with some real answers. If he's so hot on this bill, why don't we get some of their so-called research and put it out there and let the American Medical Association, the American Cancer Society, the American Glaucoma Society, let them look at it, because they don't. They say it's not good.
Thank you.
Is there a rebuttal to a rebuttal?
We
No.
forbade that in the
I'm
first
sorry.
round, so we're going to leave it there. The question to you, Mr. Farley, then. Why has this bill, or these bills in this issue, taken so long to work its way through the New Jersey political system?
I'm not so sure it's a question of moving through the political system, although ultimately it has to be voted on. It's an incredibly contentious situation. You could see what we're talking about tonight. He's accusing me of lying. I'm accusing him of lying. He says he has his studies. I know I have my studies. We're down to the point today, and the reason you even have a shot at getting a bill passed is because we have legislators who are non-doctors. The fact that there happens to be one in the legislature talking about being in favor of this really means nothing. These are citizens who are determining the efficacy of a drug. Where did that ever happen? It never did. That's the whole idea behind the FDA. If we didn't have the FDA, New Jersey is the home of most of the major pharmaceutical companies in the world. Well, instead of having to go through 7 years of FDA approval, spending hundreds of millions of dollars, they'll just throw it in the legislature and they'll determine it. Is that the way you want medicine practice? It's certainly not the way I want it practiced. These people have no business being involved in whether this is good or not good, and that's part of the reason that it's taken so long to get anywhere. And fortunately, it's nowhere yet.
Thank you. Rebuttal, Mr. Goldstein.
One of the most overriding things I always notice when Mr. Farley and the rest of his opposition cohorts come to New Jersey Assembly Committee hearings is that they're always in police uniforms with guns on their hip. They're never doctors in lab coats with stethoscopes around their neck. They don't bring doctors. They don't bring patients. They bring people with guns. That's who's against medical marijuana here in the state, simply law enforcement. There are no doctors that you will find who testify against medical marijuana with Mr. Farley's group. Also, when it comes to Big Pharma, do you think that in the state where Big Pharma is based, if they were really against medical marijuana, they wouldn't be with Mr. Farley? But they're not. And they're not with us either. They're sitting it out. They're watching. I don't believe law enforcement should be doctors, but right at the back of this room, you'll meet a registered nurse, Ken Wolski. He's the director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana of New Jersey. You'll find doctors, nurses, hospice care nurses. You'll find patients living and dying. But on the opposition, you only find law enforcement.
All right. Thank you.